By 1968, the Beatles had reached a point in their career where there were virtually no creative boundaries left to challenge. Having abandoned the exhausting cycle of touring 2 years earlier, the band could devote all of their energy to experimentation in the recording studio. The result was the White Album, an ambitious, unpredictable collection that embraced everything from folk and blues to avant-garde sound collages and music hall pastiche. Few albums in rock history have inspired as much debate. To some listeners, it is the Beatles' most daring artistic statement. To others, it feels like four remarkably gifted songwriters pursuing their own ideas under the same roof, rather than functioning as a single band. Yet perhaps that creative freedom is exactly what has allowed the album to remain endlessly fascinating. Every Beatle left a distinctive fingerprint on the record. John Lennon pushed experimentation to its limits with the bewildering Revolution 9. George Harrison offered the satirical Piggies, a song that has grown in appreciation over the decades. Ringo Starr contributed his first original Beatles composition, Don't Pass Me By, alongside the gentle closing ballad, Good Night. McCartney, meanwhile, displayed perhaps the widest stylistic range of anyone on the album. Within the span of one record, he moved effortlessly between old-fashioned music hall on Honey Pie, country storytelling on Rocky Raccoon, the raw blues energy of Why Don't We Do It in the Road, and delicate acoustic pop. Not every experiment divided opinion in his favor. Some critics have long viewed several of McCartney's songs on the White Album as charming diversions rather than essential Beatles classics. But one track has largely escaped that criticism. At just 1 minute and 46 seconds, I Will is among the shortest songs the Beatles ever released, yet within that brief running time, McCartney created what many fans consider one of the band's most elegant love songs, a composition so effortless that even he continued to admire it decades later. The song began during the Beatles' stay in Rishikesh, India, in early 1968. McCartney had already developed the melody, but struggled to find lyrics worthy of it. In Many Years From Now, Barry Miles' 1997 biography based on extensive interviews with McCartney, the songwriter recalled spending time with Scottish singer-songwriter Donovan, searching for the right words. I kept searching for better words, and I wrote my own set in the end. Very simple words, straight love song words, really. I think they're quite effective. For McCartney, the lyrics were never meant to be overly poetic or complicated. Their simplicity was the point. Rather than telling a detailed story, I Will captures the universal feeling of unconditional love in the most direct way possible. What mattered most, however, was the melody. Reflecting on the song years later, McCartney revealed that it remains one of the compositions he is proudest of. It's still one of my favorite melodies that I've written. You just occasionally get lucky with a melody, and it becomes rather complete, and I think this is one of them. Quite a complete tune. Coming from a songwriter responsible for Yesterday, Hey Jude, Let It Be, and Blackbird, that is remarkable praise. McCartney believed I Will possessed something that every songwriter hopes to discover but can never manufacture. A melody that feels complete from the moment it arrives. Nothing needs adding and nothing needs removing. That sense of completeness is reflected in the recording itself. Despite lasting less than 2 minutes, I Will never feels unfinished or rushed. It contains verses, a memorable chorus, a graceful bridge, and a satisfying ending that concludes naturally rather than fading away. Even more unusually, McCartney supplied the bass line himself, not with an instrument, but by singing a vocal bass part that blends seamlessly into the arrangement. More than half a century after its release, I Will remains one of the quiet masterpieces inside the White Album. It lacks the grandeur of Hey Jude or the revolutionary ambition of A Day in the Life, yet its beauty lies in its restraint. The White Album may be remembered for its wild stylistic detours and fearless experimentation, but among its most enduring moments is this tiny acoustic gem. For all the risks McCartney took throughout the album, I Will proved that sometimes the simplest songs are the hardest to improve upon. And, in his own words, sometimes a songwriter simply gets lucky enough to write quite a complete tune.